ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college basketball. The opening weekend's down. We're into the Sweet 16. There's only 16 teams left. My math works out there correctly. But the man who's never afraid of a math problem, my co-host, Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Apps. That for opening weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Drama, chaos, heroes, cult heroes, actually. Referees want to make an appearance or two. Great basketball across the board. Double overtime between, a Creighton game going until who knows when in the middle of the morning.
Shoot, yeah.
Dudes dropping 10 threes and setting records. It is, Galkey now is going to be remembered forever. Like, all that stuff was just absolutely fantastic. It really just drew everybody in. Pure, drama television for everyone.
Right. Absolutely. And hey, speaking of records here, Fresh, like we said, starting off this March Madness, we have a record that we've set already. It's our first ever sponsor for the season. This is incredible. It's Champ Sports Pools. That's who this episode is brought to you by. So get ready for the ultimate March Madness experience with Champ Sport Pools. Here's how it works. Visit champsportspools.com/spinnable to claim your free entry into the Sweet 16 bracket pool with a chance to win $1,000. That's champsportspools.com/spinnable. Once you're on the page, look for a big orange button that says Get Your Free Entry and click to be entered into the contest. Predict the winner of each of the games for the Sweet 16 through the championship and compete for that $1,000 grand prize. Hey, I know it's only the Sweet 16, but you can still increase your chances of winning by hosting your own bracket pool with champsportspools.com. If you host your own bracket pool, you can earn a second entry into the Sweet 16 bracket pool with a chance to win big. Again, for more details, make sure you're visiting champsportspools.com/spinnable.
Seth, what starts this week? The Sweet 16. Everyone, this is the time to take action. Go in there, get your picks in, get your free entry, set up a bracket pool if you want to, and get a second free entry. It's $1,000 to the winner, and it costs you nothing to do it. Go in, champsportspools.com/spinnable. You only have to pick 16. Pick all the matchups. If you get every single one right, you get points all the way. Highest, person left with the most items correct, they win. But you have nothing to lose. Do it. All the rules there. Check it out. I did it tonight. Very easy. You put your 16 teams in. You see them all there. You pick the winners. You work your way to the national championship. And who's cutting down the nets? Doesn't take that very long, and no charge to me whatsoever. $1,000 to winner. champsportspools.com/spinnable.
Yeah, absolutely. Fresh, it's free for you guys to join, so make sure you're doing it, everyone. It's a great opportunity, and again, totally free. There's not many things that are like that for a chance to win $1,000. So, all right, Fresh, before we dive into the bracket here real quick, I'm just going to ask you, and you only can give me one, favorite game from the weekend. I'm asking you, out of the 48 first and second round matchups, what was your favorite game from this weekend?
You know what? The Oakland-NC State 14-11 matchup. You don't even get the two higher seeds going at, but you have Burns for NC State, Galkey and Townsend there for Oakland. Two teams that nobody thought that would obviously make it past the 10-minute mark left in the second half in their first game. They both win their first-round games, and they battled it out right to the very stretch and to the very end. Drama television, everybody's locked in, and unfortunately, one of those teams had to win and one team had to lose. But that was an epic game. You had two guys who became cult heroes in Burns there and Galkey. It was just amazing across the board and really exciting basketball.
I got to give it up to the Houston Cougars and the Texas A&M Aggies. I was on the verge of, on the other night, like ready to head to bed, call it a week, and get ready for, the next work week here coming up. And as the minute I start going out, they suck me back in here, Fresh. That shot that the kid from A&M hit at with 1 second left, absolutely incredible ball game. One of the better basketball games I've seen in a long time, although Houston got themselves in quite a bit of foul trouble. But again, fun times over there in the South Regional with Houston and Texas A&M for me.
That's what you want in the tournament. You don't want blowouts. You want the exciting games to go down to last possession or even overtime. And they both those games that we've mentioned delivered.
Right. All right, Fresh. Let's talk about the Sweet 16 here. We're going to the East Regional to start off here. We got the number 1 seed, UConn. They are going to be facing the San Diego State Aztecs. This is a rematch from last year's championship game. UConn beats Stetson, Northwestern, San Diego State, UAB, and Yale. Right now, at time of record, UConn is currently a 10.5-point favorite spread. Fresh, I don't see a way that San Diego State beats UConn.
Well, I mean, first off, let's be serious. UConn hasn't been tested, at least in those first 2 games. They were tested, in the Big East tournament, Big East season a little bit here and there. But those first 2 games were, I think, practice is probably the best way to put it. And all due respect to Stetson Northwestern, but you are not going to offer the UConn Huskies, this dominant freight train of a team, much of a competition. The Aztecs, on the other hand, they kind of know what UConn's like. They faced the national title game. Yeah, they got beat by double digits, but they've seen this team at the highest level. How have they adapted since then to prepare themselves for this game coming up in the Sweet 16? The stakes aren't as big. Obviously, it's not for a national championship. But you have to understand these guys have already been through it. They've seen this team in action. And how does that help give them some confidence of, all right, last time we played them, I know what I saw in the situation. I know how this person played. They go this way. They run this play when they're in, certain situation of basketball. Will that help and pay off and give them a little extra boost? Kind of like an extremely advanced scout. It's not much, but maybe it's there. Both these teams are actually built defensively, and that's kind of where they thrive and push their offense from there. UConn, 12th in the nation in points allowed at 63.9 points per game. The Aztecs, 28th in the nation, allowing 66.3. So teams aren't scoring very much against them. So that they're getting strangled, they're forcing turnovers, getting great, cutting off passing lanes, getting rebounds, dominating that end, and scoring in transition. Their defense fuels their offense. But the Huskies have some serious depth. They have a ton of players averaging double figures a game. And they also have 9 players averaging 9 or more minutes a game. So you got a full load of players who are getting tons of minutes, contributing across the board. You got 5 guys averaging double digits. That is a total team effort from UConn. Part of that minutes-wise because they're beating people so bad, they're rotating guys to get more experience and more playing time late in ball games. But you have depth like that allows you to deal with some foul trouble, that allows you to keep rotating guys, keep them fresh for a stretch run through a tournament like this right here. So that's one thing. Also, the Aztecs are much limited more minutes-wise across their team, much smaller bench, rely on more of their starters. UConn has a full-on depth perspective of everybody. So how does that come into play? And can the Aztecs withstand that workload that's coming to them in this ballgame? I don't think so. They're going to need a dominant effort from Jaden Leedy and Darian Trammell to even have a chance. UConn is just too good. Tristan Newton, Donovan Clingan, Cam Spencer. I mean, they've just been dominant. And I think this is going to be another double-digit win for UConn over the Aztecs. I'll give them a fight early, but as the game plays out, UConn will pull away.
UConn has got to do better from shooting behind the arc, man. If you take a look at how they did against Northwestern, 3 of 22 from behind the arc, just over 13% from downtown. If they do that, they'll let San Diego State hang around. Like, San Diego State's got a little more offensive firepower than Northwestern or Stetson. They'll be able to kind of keep the pace there if UConn is not able to shoot the 3 a little bit better than where they are. They don't have to be great at it. I need them to be over 34%. Like, that area would be fine, just fine with them. If you take a look, though, at UConn in that Northwestern game, Fresh, they were shooting almost 82% from the field if you take out shots that weren't 3-pointers. So if you look at the rest of their offense and their field goal percentage, like, this team makes good decisions. They make good passes. They set up the right player. They don't really, again, I don't want to say they don't care who scores, but they really don't care who scores as long as they're winning. And that's the thing I love. It helps UConn's led by 2 seniors there. I've loved what I've seen out of Newton and Spencer so far. And again, when you're in the March Madness tournament here, you need to be led by senior guard play, and that's what they're doing. They got a young plucky freshman. This kid's been absolutely phenomenal in Castle. I really have enjoyed watching him play. Can't see if he goes on. And then Klingon, the center, he's been absolutely fantastic on the boards. I would love to see, I know we're not going to probably get it until the championship here, but I'd love to see him and Edie go kind of toe-to-toe with each other. I think that'd be an interesting matchup. San Diego State, like, they got an opportunity on it. You got to defend. They got to really, fill it up. They need to shoot over 40% from behind the arc. I just don't think they're going to have it in them. I think UConn is a team possessed. I think a lot of these number one seeds, outside of maybe Houston, got themselves into a little scare. I think this could be an very easy year where we see a chalk Final Four here. But we'll get to that a little bit later here, Fresh. But I got UConn big.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a quick game. First half will have some sluggish moments. The second half will fly through.
Absolutely. All right, Fresh, let's go to the other game in the East Regional. That is the Illinois Fighting Illini. They beat Duquesne and BYU to get there to Sweet 16. I'm sorry, they beat Morehead State. Duquesne beat BYU. Iowa State beat South Dakota State, and they beat Washington State to get there. Two interesting teams here. Spread right now is Iowa, 1.5 points in this game. Shannon for Illinois has been impressing me, but this Iowa State team is really, really good. I thought Illinois would lose some firepower after that run that they made through the Big Ten tournament, but this team's never out of it. So,
well, first off, folks, this is going to be a classic game, and it's a approximate 10 o'clock tip on Thursday night. Get yourself some coffee. Make sure you're wide awake, especially around the East Coast. This is going to be a game you're going to want to watch. Iowa State, fourth in the nation, allowing 60.3 points per game. They are locked down. Transition defense is there. They force turnovers. They rebound. They play very, very solid defense, almost impenetrable. And they played the Big 12, which is an amazing basketball conference. Illinois on the other side, allowing 73.4 points per game. That's 230th in the nation. You kind of hear that. It's like only give up 73 points, but there are 350 teams. That's actually a little bit farther down. Their defense, there's been times where they've gotten beat. They're not as loose. They're much more of an offensive team. But they are winning by 11.2 points a game, so that says they're obviously scoring a lot more. On the flip side, Illinois is ninth in the nation when scoring, averaging 84.6 points per game, and Iowa State is only averaging 75.5 points a game. So a very solid defensive team in Iowa State versus a very, very good offensive team in Illinois. And then on the other opposite side, they're about even. They're about a push from their other side of that ball perspective. So the story of the line, can Iowa State shut down Terry, shut down that entire Illinois offense, keep them in check, especially from fast break points they've gotten a lot out lately. That's where this game's going to really come down to. Cyclones are forcing 17.3 turnovers per game. That is second in the nation. So that's where they get their stops. It's not exactly forcing bad shots. It's just getting the turnovers, forcing bad options by the opposing team when they're in half-court sets or in transition, and then feeding off of that as they go. The Illini are seventh in the nation, averaging 41 rebounds a game. They are dominating the board. So the missed shots there offensively, they're getting back and they're putting right back up. Defensively, that's really getting their one stop, one possession, empties for the opponent, and they're transitioning back into points on the other end. So it's really turnovers and rebounds are going to fuel both their offensive efforts. Terrence Shannon, you mentioned him. He gets all the attention at 23.3 points a game, but Marcus Damask is lethal. 16.1 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists a game. Dude has range, but not afraid to step behind the arc and drop a couple here and there. He gives the fuel, kind of like a power forward. I'm not going to say a Shaq to Kobe kind of center to guard action, but he's more of that power forward, Shannon being the guard, the two of them working in conjunction along with the rest of the team to really become a very lethal combination of Illini on the court. The Cyclones, they're going to need Keyshawn Gilbert, Tamine Lipsey, and Milic. I'm going to butcher the poor guy's name. Milan Mamulevich. They got 3 of those guys going to be locked in. They can score with the best of them. They're all edge double figures, but this team's not going to put up 80, 90 points a game. They are doing within the offense, and they play defense to fuel their offense. If the 3 of them are making shots, giving them a chance, and they dictate the pace, then they have a chance to win the ballgame. If Illinois gets out running and they put the pressure on Iowa State and they put the pace there faster, scoring points at will, can Iowa State keep up? Iowa State's defense has got to set the tone and keep the game slow and at their pace so they don't get in a running match with the Illini. Because if they do, this game could be a shootout. I don't know if Iowa State has enough bucket makers throughout the entire ballgame to get them that far. Either way, this will be an amazing ballgame. This will go all the way down to the last possession. The first game might be a blowout, but tune in for the second one in that doubleheader section of this regional in the Sweet 16. The Illini are going to win a close game. I think Shannon's probably going to make the last bucket to win it and seal it, but it's going to come down to the last possession. The Illini are going to advance to take on UConn.
Fresh, in the last 9 games, how many times has Terrence Shannon scored under 20 points? Once. And that was a loss to Purdue. I'm looking at this, man, and the thing that makes Shannon so special is that he's a 6'6" guard here. He's physically imposing. He's a physically imposing player. Iowa State, my question is, who's going to be the matchup? Who is going to be the one to kind of slow him down? You're not going to be able to stop him. Even against that Purdue game, he did score 11 points. He was real inefficient on his shooting, but he has not had many games where he has scored under 20 points this year. A couple of games where he's scoring 18, which is great for a college player. You look at like college leaguers and what they're doing scoring wise. My question is, which one of the Iowa State guards is going to match up with him? Because of his ability to take them off the dribble, you're going to want a guard on him. You're going to want him. You're not going to be able to match up. I doubt you're going to match up Lipsy with him. Lipsy's 6'1". I think that you kind of would take him into the post there and kind of work out of the post as well. Maybe kind of similar. Again, it's not the same, but if you want an example, maybe Jordan, when he came back with the Bulls in 96, 97, would take a smaller guard down into the post with him and be able to operate out of there, which would make it very interesting. So it means it either goes back on Curtis Jones or Keshawn Gilbert. And I think actually probably my hunch is Jones would draw that matchup just to see who has to like really go off of with him. You could go a little bit bigger on him and kind of, use the side, but I think he's quick enough to get around there. That's the thing that I keep asking my question here. Iowa State, no lead is ever going to be safe for them, especially with what we've seen Illinois. And it's not like we've seen Illinois get hot in the opening part of the weekend. No, it's not that. We've seen them roll through the Big Ten tournament. We've seen them roll through the first 2 games of the NCAA tournament. I can't see Iowa like matching them up. You're going to have to get some turnovers. You're going to have to completely control the offensive glass. And that's the thing in defensive glass. And that's the thing that concerns me. Their leading rebounders only averaging 5 rebounds a game. Now they got guys, they're piecemealing it together. But you take a look at Illinois. Illinois has got a much better ability to clean the glass out there. You take a look at, they got 2 guys averaging 6 rebounds a game, 2 other guys averaging 5. This is a really good Illini team. It's going to be close. First 30 minutes of this game, last 10 minutes of this ball game, Illinois is going to kind of pull away from Iowa State. I don't think it's going to be close. I'm saying like a 7-8 point game. But again, I think that as long as Illinois clears this, probably like the 75, 76 mark, they'll be fine in this game. I don't think Iowa State can put up that amount of points in this unless they shoot lights out. So give me the Illini over the Cyclones.
Yeah, the pace is, which of those strengths really dictates. Is Illinois' offense pushing the pace, or is Iowa State's defense are locking it down and just grinding the game out? Both these coaches, elite. They will have their guys prepared to play. If this was the second game, like if this was the Elite Eight matchup, I think it'd be tougher. But you have almost 4 days now to really get prepared for each other. I think that also helps. Where get your guys some rest, come in with some fresh legs. And being schemed up a little bit on how to win these matchups and be prepared for each other.
All right, so who you got coming out of the East?
I think UConn is just so good. If they get that matchup with Iowa State or Illinois, that team is just so experienced and so loaded. I think they're going to punch the ticket, cut down the nets, and go to Phoenix for the Final Four.
I got UConn too. They're coming out. But if it's Iowa State, I think it's a sure thing. I think Iowa State, UConn's in. Like, hammer it home. They're going to cover the spread on that one. Illinois is the one where it gets me a little bit, like, shaky on that. Because I've seen Illinois beat some really, really good teams. I've seen them dominate in the Big Ten tournament. I've seen them dominate their first two matchups there because, everyone wanted to talk about how Illinois had drawn Morehead State and they beat them by 16. Everyone talked about how that was a bad matchup for Illinois. And they're like, no, it's not. So give me UConn as well, but I'm going to be extremely intrigued in that Elite Eight matchup, especially if it's UConn versus Illinois.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a primetime affair.
All right, Fresh, let's go to the South Regional. Let's take a look at the South Sweet 16 now and in here. Our first game over there in the South Regional, we're going from top to bottom here. It's the Houston Cougars. They made the Sweet 16 by beating Longwood and beating Texas A&M in a thriller. Duke is the number 4 seed. They've made the run in there. They beat the stuffing out of Vermont and then just completely took James Madison out to the woodshed. Boy, howdy. It's the whole Rocky IV situation where you have the guys scream and stop the damn match. So this is going to be a great one. Who you got between Houston and Duke?
Well, the Cougars lead the nation in points allowed at 57.7. They're starting everything on the defensive end, and they're very efficient and disciplined. They're only turning the ball over 8.9 times a game, which means they're strictly running their offense, no mistakes. They rebound, they lock it down in defense, and they turn that into offense. They're not a lightning, fast-paced scoring team like we might have seen other teams around the country. They play that Big 12 mentality of defense, rebounding, slow pace, grind it out. Solid shooters, but nothing that's going to put up 90 or 100 points like Alabama or North Carolina are doing. Cougars are only averaging 74.1 points a game. That's 10th in the Big 12. And they are, number 1, number 2, number 3, depending on what poll you want to look at in the nation. And they're number 1 seed. Defense is going to sell it for the Cougars, and that's how they sort of go. Nobody scores on Houston. Nobody scores on the Cougars. The other side, I have to apologize to Duke. And I said they're going to be a bust. I said they're going to make out the first weekend. They definitely aren't going to win this ball game. So they aren't going to make it to the Elite Eight, but I didn't think they were going to make it this far. And they look like vintage Duke in their two dominant games in the first opening weekend. They beat the trash out of both teams they played. There was no remorse, no pity on them. They took them all seriously. It looked like a different Duke Blue Devils team. Maybe those losses to North Carolina early in the year, maybe the conference tournament exit early, got John Shire, got Filipowski, got that entire team to wake up a little bit, but they showed up and they came to play. Houston's a little different than James Madison and Vermont, but how will that momentum carry on when they move into this now Sweet 16 matchup? Duke only turns it over nine times a game. They're scoring 79.8 points a game, which is 42nd in the nation. So they do have an offense and they want to get going. They can put points on the board. This is going to actually be a lot closer, I think, than the experts say. And any critics you're going to look at, like, oh, it's Houston. They're highly ranked. They're a dominant team. Duke's going to give them everything they want. They're going to have to battle it out. The underlying factor, though, do the Cougars learn anything from last year? Last year, they were this dominant team. Once again, they were a number 1 seed. Their region was in Houston. They were at home. Well, the national championship game was going to be Houston. They had it right there. It was all supposed to be easily lined up. Going to play in Houston, win a national title in their home city. They stumbled to Miami, and they got beat by Miami in the Sweet 16. They overlooked them. They got cocky. Have they learned from that situation? Have they grown up that now these games actually mean something? You don't get a redo. You don't get a do-over. You don't get a mulligan. This is your chance. Are you just a great team in the regular season, and then both years in a row you sort of stumble and get embarrassed in the Sweet 16? You don't fulfill, quote-unquote, your destiny? Or just last year a learning, and this year you've grown from it. You take advantage of the situation, and you take care of business against Duke. Ken Cryer, Jamal, Sheed, Emmanuel Sharp, are they focused enough to come out here for Houston and take on Filipowski and company and lock it down for the full 40 minutes and get the job done? I think they are. I think they took you last year as a learning opportunity to grow. This team will come in defensive-minded. They will shut down Duke. They will limit Filipowski in the lane, limit his opportunities on the court, and they will slowly grind it out and beat Duke and advance to the Elite Eight. The Cougars will finally take that next step in this ballgame and get to the Elite Eight. It will be a long, drawn-out slow played out ball game, but they will come out victorious.
Fresh, I'm still waiting for Filipowski to have a game in this tournament here. And you take a look at what he did against Vermont, 3 points in that game. He had a pedestrian 14 points against James Madison. Duke didn't need him in either one of those games, but you're waiting for him to have one of those moments there. Again, Jeremy Roach, Jared McCain, phenomenal. You know what? And especially with how they're shooting from behind the arc, I think that this is that moment where, you know, John Shire has one of the hardest jobs in all of sports right now. He is following. Kalen DeBoer is probably the only person that is currently coaching that understands the position John Shire's in. Because how do you have the challenge of following a guy like Coach K where you've won multiple national titles? Same thing with DeBoer's going to have to do at Alabama following Nick Saban this year. Something was off with Houston when I watched that A&M game. It bothered me what I was seeing by them. I didn't love what I was seeing with Houston. I definitely didn't love the foul trouble that they had gotten into. I really think this Duke team is now going to take Shire's career and basically say, like, John Shire is now going to be considered one of the top tier coaches. And again, when you're working at Duke, when you're kind of handpicked by Coach K, you are already kind of perceived there, but the results have to really match. And I think this is going to be the first game where we look and say, because I legitimately think Shire's going to have these guys really ready to go. I think Filipowski, I think McCain, Roach, I think this entire team is going to be locked in and ready to go. I think Houston is going to be set for it. I don't think this is anything negative for it. I think this game is going to be extremely close. Houston's only a 4-point favorite in this game, but I would take Duke in a very, very tight game. End of the game turns into a foul shooting battle. Duke's got two good, really, really good free throw shooters. So give me the Blue Devils in this one.
Wow. I mean, if they play efficient basketball and they shoot well, yes, it's an opportunity. Are they battle tested? They didn't play many ranked teams all year, but maybe it's a learning opportunity. You know, year two of that John Shire, regime. It's going to take almost a perfect game from Duke, but if they're prepared and they're efficient, they have a chance.
Yeah. Well, it's not for a lack of talent either.
No, I mean, they don't recruit,
right.
slobs.
Right. All right, let's go to the other game on the South bracket right now. That is NC State playing Marquette. NC State's an 11 seed. They got there by beating Texas Tech in the first round. Then they knocked off Oakland in the second round. Marquette beat Western Kentucky and then won a close one versus Colorado. Shocking to see that one. There's another one that could have been the best game of the tournament is that Colorado-Florida game was really good. So NC State's got Marquette going on. Right now, at time of record, Marquette is a 6.5-point favorite. Fresh, the Wolfpack party is rolling along. They've looked good, especially a gentleman by the name of DJ Burns Jr. I want to know what senior really looks like. I mean, I see him on TV. He a big boy. Large American. I like it.
Burns just does whatever he wants. The dude has obviously an intimidating presence down low, makes his shots, rebounds. The guy can do it all. He's kind of like that, like a cult hero, but him and Galki, and what I was mentioning earlier, everyone just feeds off of their energy where they don't look like this NBA, lottery pick who everyone's drooling over, to make millions of dollars. These guys are just dudes who come out and play basketball and they're having fun. They are running their game. And guys are energized because of their presence and they're playing at a high level. And Burns is definitely at the epitome of that right now. His game, the past 7, the run to the ACC tournament and so far through the opening round, the round of 32, has been electric. And you see the rest of the guys are just feeding out the energy, making shots. Guys are getting more open. They're playing a full. They're hustling for loose balls. And that's just sort of feed on the momentum. And obviously, if you've seen pictures of Raleigh after the game and they won, The whole entire quad was full of students. People are energized right there. They're always forgotten in the triangle there in that Raleigh-Durham area. Everyone's sort of like, oh, NC State, they're the offset, especially when it comes to basketball. Duke, Carolina are the Kings. And they're just quietly making their presence known. And here they are in the Sweet 16. They are bringing the energy. On the other side, Marquette, another kind of team that is looked upon in second light. They're in Milwaukee. They have a great, rich basketball tradition. Al McGuire won national title with them, back in the 70s. But everybody looks at University of Wisconsin as the flagship, and Marquette is just, oh, well, you're a basketball school, and that's great, but you're not the flagship university. Well, Wisconsin, you embarrassed yourself for James Madison, and Marquette is still standing. And Shaka Smart has that entire program revived and playing at a high level. And that program, they don't just turn out great college teams every once in a while. Dwayne Wade, remember him? They put out tons of NBA talent. And I got a feeling this team has some guys who are ready to make some, impact in the NBA once their time at Marquette's done. But I don't think that run ends here today. Kolek has definitely, his coming back from injury has shown them some life, gave them extra person in the wing, gave them energy, and a shot maker to help this Golden Eagles team move forward. I just think that right there, that return in that quality of team they've played in the Big East where Creighton, UConn, etc., they've battled a little bit, in a tough environment, and that's going to pay off, and they're going to rise up here. NC State's been a great story. They've won 7 in a row. Marquette, I think just the overall quality is better, and they will find a way to prevail in this basketball game. It'll be tight. It will come down to the last possession or two. They will not run away for any means at all. But Marquette will survive and advance to the regional final. NC State, you've given us a heck of a run. I actually, build off this, but it ends with this game. Marquette is just too good and they're too thorough across the board. And having a healthy Kolek is going to make them even better, and they're going to find a way to win.
Fresh, one of my idols with basketball coaches has always been the late, great Jim Valvano. Him and John Wooden are two of the people who, I look up to. I've read quite a few books on Coach Wooden, on leadership and how he handled things. I've always searched out for people who had stories about interacting with Jimmy B and watched a countless amount of interviews with him. Well, I can get my hands on that's out there. One of the things that Valvano says, to be successful, you got to know where you've been, where you are, where you want to be. And where they want to be is to be in this national title game. It's been 21 years since the Survive and Advance team. 21 years since Survive and Advance team with Jimmy V. And that game wound up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to say this team has some of the components of that team, but I can't bring myself to say it. I would love for NC State to win this game, because then I will truly believe that this is a team that has embraced that survive and advance mentality that the 83 Wolfpack team had. I mean, everyone's going to say, oh, survive and advance, because it becomes the MO of the March Madness tournament here. But truly teams about truly surviving in a game, in a 40-minute basketball game where every moment matters, every shot matters, everything, you need the ball to bounce your way multiple different times. I need to see NC State have that against Marquette for me to believe them. Beating Texas Tech, they're just a better team than Texas Tech. I mean, plain and simple, they were the better team. I turned that game off, even though Texas Tech was only down by 8 when that game was going on, because in my mind, as I was watching it, there's no way Texas Tech could beat that NC State team. NC State was just too good. That Oakland game was interesting because especially that game went into overtime. That team was scrappy as all get out and could shoot really, really well from behind the arc. Marquette is the intriguing one because on paper, you would say, well, you know what? Marquette's, they got Cam Jones. They got Tyler Kolek. Like, those are two better players. Those are the two really good players with Marquette. And those players are really, really good. Kolek has just been absolutely phenomenal, especially getting the ball moving through it with how he sets up the offense there. And Cam Jones is maybe one of the most athletic players to come through Marquette since a guy by the name of Dwayne Wade. I mean, I'm trying to think, John Morant too came through there as well, if I remember correct. But other than that, we're talking about a short list and a really high-end company here as well. I don't know. I'm going to pick Marquette in this game, and I'm going to go with them. But if NC State wins this one, they are truly on to something absolutely special. I love DJ Burns Jr. I think the kid's just a load in the post and makes things really, really difficult. I wish he could coach up a little more discipline from him, because there's a few things that I saw from him that were a little concerning for me. But love everything else that I've seen from him. And then, DJ Horn, the senior there, he's been their leading scorer all year long. He's been absolutely lights out from behind the arc as well. He can really fill it up for him. If those two guys get rolling, then watch out. But it's going to be a tough one.
Well, as we both know, producer Drew, his wife, is a Carolina grad. I think that her, along with other Carolina grads, are really kind of nervous if it's a Duke-NC State regional final.
Right.
They don't want to have to deal with having Duke or NC State going to the Final Four, potentially them maybe getting beat by Arizona. So got a feeling they're both rooting for Houston and Marquette just to end those runs. But if that happens, that puts a lot more pressure on Carolina to get through their end and cut down the nets and get to the Final Four as well.
All right, you got Houston, Marquette. Who you got going to the championship or Final Four?
Give me Marquette punching it through and getting to the Final Four. Why not?
I'm going to agree with you there, Fresh. I'm going to go Marquette as well. I got them playing Duke in the Elite Eight. I'm going to say Marquette wins it there, and we're going to have a very fun. Shaka Smart gets himself all the way back to the Final Four.
Yeah, the way if he can get there and get that program back there, that'll be a pretty amazing run.
Yep.
All right, folks, embrace the madness with Chain Sports Pool's Sweet 16 contest. It's free to enter, and you can compete to win $1,000. That's right, absolutely free to enter. And if you win, you'll take home $1,000. Visit chainsportspools.com/spinnable to claim your free entry into the Sweet 16 bracket pool with a chance to win $1,000. That's chainsportspools.com/spinnable. If you're planning on hosting a bracket pool, you should do so at chainsportspools.com/spinnable. By doing so, you'll earn a second free entry into the Sweet 16 contest with a chance to win a $1,000 prize. For more details, please visit chainsportspools.com/spinnable.
Fresh, this is an awesome opportunity for everybody. Folks, if you have not gotten into it yet, the Sweet 16 starts Thursday. You got to get your bracket in before that Thursday. If you want to host another pool and get your friends involved, get yourself another chance for that $1,000 prize. Just such an awesome opportunity for you guys. And I want to say a special thanks to Champ Sports Pools for sponsoring this podcast. It's amazing that we have our first sponsor ever for this podcast. Who would have thought 3 years ago, Fresh, we would have someone that we're advertising on this podcast?
Yeah, we've definitely come a long way. And it's great that it kind of intertwines. It's not like, for another product. It is for sports gambling. It's free. It's very enticing, very engaging, right up our alley and things we want to be involved in. Folks, it's the Sweet 16. You've already had to worry about all the craziness in the first two rounds. Just set up your pool. Put your picks in. It's free. If you win, you can win $1,000. It's fantastic. Do it. It makes literally, there is no negative about this, and you have a chance to potentially cash home $1,000.
Absolutely. All right, Fresh, we're off to the Wild West bracket. Oh, sign me up for these games here, Fresh, because these games are going to be absolutely fantastic. Let's start with the top seed in the West. It's the North Carolina Tar Heels. Hey, they got here. They beat Wagner in the first round, Michigan State in the second round. They're going to be facing Alabama, the Crimson Tide. Alabama beat Charleston in the first round and Grand Canyon University in the second round. Two offensive juggernauts. Defense might be at a premium in this game. RJ Davis, Mark Sears. Ooh, great matchup right there. Fresh, what you got?
Hey, the game's in LA, Hollywood. Lakers gave us showtime. That's what this game's going to be. This is going to be showtime, folks. Alabama scoring 90.7 points a game, leads the nation. Alabama averaging 11 threes a game, third in the nation. Alabama averaging 64.6 shots per game. Not shots of tequila, not shots of whiskey, just shots of the basketball. Seventh in the nation. Carolina scoring 81.8 points per game, 20th in the nation. Tar Heels averaging 8 threes made a game. Carolina averaging 62.4 shots per game, which that's only 2 shots difference, but that's 32nd in the nation. But they are definitely jacking them up, and they run at a fast pace. Tar Heels crashing the boards all day long, averaging 40.9 rebounds a game. That's 8th in the nation. What this tells me right here, fast-paced. Shot clock's not going to be drained very often. They're going to push the pace all night long. Take the over. Buckets will be made. Defense is not really going to be much of a focus point until we get late in the ballgame trying to get, key strategic stops. A lot of you guys are pushing the pace. RJ Davis, Armando Bacot. This is why you're here. This is why especially Bacot. 2 years ago, playing for a national championship, didn't get all the way through. You came back again this year for a title. Where's that extra fuel? When you start feeling tired, when you start feeling down, that needs to be the motivation to push the rest of the team to go farther and to go stronger and to go harder and push that pace, and don't let down because you came back for a reason. We hear from all these other athletes, I came back to win a championship. You're here. You have to drive the rest of the team the rest of the way through. You can't be the one that lets them down. You can't have the pressure of the situation also get there. This is your moment. This is why you're there. Alabama, you had a heck of a team last year. Obviously, Miller's no longer with the program. He left to the NBA. You had a very successful year last year. You've had an up and down season this year, but now you're starting to find your groove. Can you keep pushing that pace here in the NCAA tournament and take down the blue blood of blue bloods, in my opinion, in basketball in North Carolina? Sears averaging 21.5 points per game, shooting 50.7% from the field and 43.5% from three. Dude can light it up from anywhere on the court. Definitely is the leader of that Crimson Tide attack. Aaron Estrada averaging 13.3, Grant Nelson averaging 11.4, and shooting 48.5% from the field. Those guys are rolling. They are the offense that pushes that and stirs the drink. Can Carolina get some stops and shut the three of them down, or at least contain them? You're not going to completely shut them out. You've got to find ways to shut them down, contain them, slow their pace down, and maintain it. If Alabama starts pushing the pace and they're starting driving this, momentum, Carolina's going to be in trouble. Can they run the entire time? They're a little more of a half court, especially with Bacot down below. They're going to have to use that to their advantage. Drop the ball down lower to the paint, get points internally, force Alabama into foul situations, get extra points off your trips. 2 for, and 1 situations, all that have got to eventually wear down Alabama. You start wearing them down, putting them in foul trouble, slowing the pace. You slow the pace, it allows you guys also to get a breath of fresh air and not let Alabama run up and down the court because they're going to jack shots all night. The SEC had a bad run of the tournament, but as the season went on, that was a very solid league top to bottom. Alabama was, tested a lot of games. Carolina rolled through the regular season in the ACC, but now we're starting to see the fruits of that where there's 4 teams from the ACC in the Sweet 16. Does that help Carolina? Actually, maybe those teams just got better as the year went on, or is Alabama being battle tested all year long in a season-long SEC struggle? Does that rise them up and give them experience? I still got to side with Carolina here. It's Carolina, it's the Tar Heels, it's Davis, it's Bacot. But I think this is going to be an exciting matchup. We're going to get something in the mid to high 80s both the ways. I think Carolina squeaks by late, more like an 89, 84, 89, 83 kind of ball game. But it's definitely going to be worth the price of admission.
Okay, Fresh. Man, this game is just so fascinating because what Vegas knows about both of these offensives right now. I just spent, while you were going through this, I went through real quick and I looked at every other Sweet 16 game. And the over-under line is set at 20 points higher than every other Sweet 16 game. 20 points. That's a lot of points. Like, I think they're set like 174, I think was what I've had it, 173.5. I think I found another game that's like 154. Folks, there's going to be a lot of offense put up in this game. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that's 19, not 20, but I was rounding up to use some, easy numbers for people. But I'm looking at this, and Mark Sears has been absolutely phenomenal. Fresh, when was the last time Mark Sears scored single digits in a ball game?
I want to say last year.
President's Day weekend this past year. 16th of January, scored 9 points in a game. His next lowest time is 17 points in an overtime win against Florida in February. Every other game, the dude scored 20 points or more. This kid is something special. He is a great ball player. It's a great one to watch with him as well. But I do agree with you, Fresh. I think North Carolina's got way too much top to bottom. Alabama has a tendency to be a bit undisciplined. I wanted to see them completely blow out Charleston or Grand Canyon. Charleston, I know you win by 13, but Charleston scored 96 points on you. That's cause for concern for me. Grand Canyon, you played a little bit better defensively, but you only won by 11 on a team that I feel like you really should have boat raced in that game. I think North Carolina is going to win this game. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to cross the 90 threshold. Alabama does have the firepower to keep up with North Carolina, but give me the Tar Heels to make it to the Elite Eight on this one.
Well, all right. It's funny you mentioned Grand Canyon. I don't root for Alabama in anything, but the only reason I'm happy Alabama won is because that lady from Grand Canyon who was cheering into the microphone during the broadcast was extremely annoying the entire game. Thank God will not be attending this next ball game.
Right.
Because that lady's annoying, and that kind of made me want to turn the sound off. That's the only reason I want Alabama to win, so we would not see the Grand Canyon student section with that annoying sound advance. Yes, concerned with the Alabama defense. Nick Saban's not showing up to save Nate Oates' defense here. They're going to have to find ways to outscore opponents and to do it at a fast pace where they just wear people down.
Right. All right, Fresh, let's go to the other game in this regional here. It's Clemson. It's Arizona. Clemson got there. They're the 6th seed in the region. They beat New Mexico in the first round, while we really did not see it being that. And then they beat a really good Baylor team in the second round there. I was impressed with the win by them. Good job out of Clemson as well. Arizona beat Long Beach State by 20, unfortunately, in the first round, and then winds up beating Dayton by 10 in the second there. Right now, at time to record, Arizona is a 7.5-point favorite in this game. Hall has been phenomenal for the Tigers. Like, that kid can play. That kid can play. And you think Gerard over there too, as well. I'd be fascinated. Again, while I talk about Hall there, you take a look at what he's been able to do out of the post area with him, and then being able to run off of Gerard as well. But, Arizona's got a guy by the name of Caleb Love, who we know is really, really good, as well as, a guy by the name of Larson and Ballo and everyone else for Arizona team. Fresh, I'll give you my breakdown here in a minute, but what you got?
Well, first off, Seth, why are we disappointed in them only beating Long Beach State by 20 points?
I need them 121.
Oh, okay. Just can't cover the spread.
Foul shots.
Clemson beat New Mexico, and Clemson rolling Baylor. Extremely impressive. They were very sluggish all year. We obviously did our teams. That would be a bust, and I had them as a bust because they hadn't looked very impressive since we turned the page 2024. But those two games right there kind of shocked me, but really gave a show what they were at the beginning of the year. They were refreshed, they were focused, and they played great basketball. They're going to need to play that times 5 to beat this Arizona Wildcats team. Wildcats are scoring 87.6 points a game. That's 3rd in the nation. And Arizona is dominating the boards, averaging 42.5 rebounds a game, 2nd in the nation. They are controlling that lane. You mentioned Love averaging 18.1 points a game. Larson averaging 12.9 and shooting 52.8% from the field and 44.1% from 3. Scoring threat. Omar Ballo, 12.9 points per game, 10 rebounds a game, shooting 65.7% from the field. They're just hanging him out in the lane, and he is just racking up buckets left and right. The dude is a force down low, and that's where him and PJ Hall are going to have a heck of a battle between Clemson and Arizona. It's going to be all in the lane. This is the old school basketball. We're not going to get a bunch of guards running up and down the court. We're going to get guys playing inside out, in the paint, a lot of action. Fouls are going to come into play. Which one of these big men can stay out of foul trouble, but also inflict fouls on the opponents to get them to the free throw line and get the other opponent out of the ballgame? There'll be a lot of games. This actually might be a slower game due to the foul situation, a lot more attempts down low. Clemson's allowing 70.6 points a game. It's 130th in the nation. So they definitely are not terrible on defense, but they're not giving up 60-something points. That's where can they find ways to get some stops? Can they get some transition buckets, force some turnovers in Arizona, take them out of their normal routine? PJ Hall, mentioned him, averaging 18.5 for Clemson, 6.4 rebounds a game, shooting 49% from the field. Him down low, the two of them, Ballo and him, are going to have a heck of a battle. Which one of those can stay out of foul trouble and inflict enough pain on the opponent to really drive and force the momentum in their direction of their team? Gerard III, averaging 15.3 points a game, shooting 42.9% from the field, and shooting 41.4 from 3-point. He's going to be the one that really pushes the pace for Clemson and drives it down to Hall. And then Chase Hunter, that third swing kind of player, 12.7 points a game and shooting 42% from the field. Can those guys find ways to keep pace with this Arizona offense and scoring at such a higher level? Can they find extra points? Who is that fourth player that can start jacking up some threes and really drive a quick momentum? I don't know if they're going to be able to slow the pace down to their level and really grind out possessions because Arizona's going to find a way to get that pace going in there. So how do you find ways to match point for point is going to be very difficult for Clemson. They're going to have to basically compare this to playing North Carolina. If they want to look at scouting themselves, how do they play versus Carolina? How do they keep that pace? How do they play at a high level and a high-octane offense and find ways to dictate? I think Baycott is actually going to be very similar to Bayo. How do they play with Hall and Baycott play? That's the best comparison. How did you perform versus Carolina is how you're going to have to play versus Arizona if you want to find a way to win and get to the Elite Eight. In the end, I think the Wildcats are just too much for Clemson. They're going to find a way to wear them down. Arizona will advance to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, Fresh. I think for Clemson, it's going to really come down to Chase Hunter in this ball game. Not the leading scorer from them. He is their start, stop, and go with everything that they want to do on the offensive side of the basketball. You know, Gerard III is phenomenal as well, but I really think that Hunter has got to be the guy that they really need to step up in this game. Arizona was one of the best analytical teams coming into this tournament. While I'm bummed out what I've seen, everything I've seen result-wise for Arizona is exactly what I expected. Caleb Love has just been absolutely phenomenal. Again, you talked about what's going to be the matchup underneath as well. I think Clemson's had a wonderful run for them. This has been great to see them go to the Sweet 16. But you know what, Fresh? I got Arizona as well. The Wildcats are going to take care of business here. Fun game to watch. I don't necessarily know how close it will be, but I'm going to say this is going to be one of those fun ones to watch, especially if you do, like you said, like old school basketball underneath. So,
yeah, give me some early mid-90s battles down low. Throwing some elbows. That'll be a fun one to watch.
All right, Fresh, who you got coming out of the West?
Well, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm going to go with North Carolina.
Yeah, you got UNC coming out of the West. I would love to. I think the Arizona-UNC game is going to be one of the best games of the entire tournament. I honestly thought that if these two teams were in other ends of the bracket, that this could very easily be our national title game. It's going to be a great one. I'll go UNC by a point in that game. UNC advances to the Final Four one more time, but that Arizona team is going to be the best. I think they are going to be the best matchup for North Carolina.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be. That's going to show if Carolina is truly a title contender and they can compete with UConn. If they can survive Arizona, then I don't think anything will really face them. That's going to be the next hurdle for Carolina to get over.
All right, Fresh, let's go to the Midwest here. One last region to go, one that we can So we're going to start picking up some steam on this one here. The Purdue Boilermakers making it to the Sweet 16. They've looked fantastic. 28-point win over Grambling. A huge win over Utah State. They're in the Sweet 16. Gonzaga takes out McNeese State pretty well. And then boat races a injury-plagued Kansas team. The Fighting Zach Eady's. What you got, Fresh? Where are they going?
Well, I think this region's going to give us the 3 best total games of the weekend. The 2 best Sweet 16 matchups and the best Elite 8 matchup. Purdue and Gonzaga are always the teams that we kind of like, yeah, but. They've always been the yeah, buts. Gonzaga, 9 straight years of making Sweet 16, yeah, but. There's 1 year, I think it was a 2020 or 2021 that they made the national title game, but yeah, but they didn't win it. Purdue, as we've documented multiple times, yeah, but that's great. Both these teams in their first 2 games have looked completely different from their normal, typical selves. They were efficient on all facets of the game, dominant down low. Edie's been sitting out at the 8-minute mark in the second half. Gonzaga just strolling through. The way they eviscerated Kansas in the second half. Either they made them quit, Kansas didn't have any healthy players, but Gonzaga absolutely just dominated Kansas. The 2 teams coming in are just freight trains, boilers, if you will, going head to head. And when they meet in this game, we're going to see a lot of firepower. And this actually, Gonzaga having multiple big men might be the best competitive environment against Edie. You're going to have 2 or 3 guys that can rotate who aren't just tall guys who are there to take fouls. These are tall guys who can actually play basketball. And that's going to force Edie out of the post. Going to force him to maybe stretch his coverage a little bit. They're going to find some matchups. Coach Few, MARQ, he can find ways to coach him up a little bit. I think how they're going to pull Edie out of the post, how they're going to stretch his abilities and force him to play multiple sets in different scenarios is going to be a real different and intriguing storyline to watch in this ballgame. There's been a lot of documented effort of how Edie gets a lot of calls from the refs, but apparently he can, throws his elbows every which way, whatever, and never gets a call on him. How are they going to control from refereeing perspective of all the big men down below? Who's going to get the calls? How is that going to dictate the flow? Edie can score, Edie can play, he can shoot his free throws, but how that foul game really dictates is going to show the pace of this ball game. Per CBS, the 2 teams with the most NCAA tournament wins in history without a national championship, Gonzaga and Purdue tied with 46. Something has to give. Obviously not playing for a natty, but to keep that hope alive and potentially win a championship and get to a Final Four, these teams right there, something has to give in that race to get to the top. The third place team is obviously Illinois there with 44 and Oklahoma at 43. But these are the 2 teams who have won a ton of tournament basketball games but never have won a national championship. Which team is hungrier in this matchup to keep pushing forward toward that Final Four and potentially toward playing a national championship? You've got to get through this matchup here. Gonzaga, 7th in the nation in scoring at 85 a game. They're shooting 51.9% from the field. Purdue, 11th in the nation in scoring, 83.9 points per game, shooting 49% from the field and 40.9% from 3. Both these teams can score. This is not old school Big Ten basketball where it's going to be 61-58. These teams are going to push the pace. They're going to score a lot of buckets. They are not draining the shot clock. This is going to be another exciting, fast-paced ball game. And how does the fouls and how does the three-point shooting play into it late will dictate the winner. Purdue been dominating the boards, obvious reasons to Edie there, getting 40.8 a game, which is 9th in the country. But if Edie can dictate his pace and he can stay out of foul trouble and Gonzaga's big men get in foul trouble, that gives Purdue a serious, obvious advantage. It's a weird thing. I don't know which of these teams has more to lose, which team has more to win. I think Edie somehow is going to find ways to overcome the opponents from Gonzaga and lead the Purdue Boilermakers to the Elite 8. But this is going to be a battle. This might be the biggest test that Purdue is going to get, and probably the most competitive game they're going to have in the past 2 to 3 weeks. So are they really ready for this challenge to take it to the next level? Gonzaga will give them all they got, but I think Purdue finds ways to squeak it out and advance to the Elite 8.
Fresh, you're right. Gonzaga has a really interesting team here that could give Edie all sorts of problems. What you want to do with a guy like Edie, it's kind of almost some of the Yao Ming rules that they used back in the day. And any guy that is Manute Bull, you talk about George Mirasan, Sean Bradley, you want to get this guy running up and down the floor. Like, you want to make him play defense, and you want to make him earn it on both ends of the floor. If Graham or Watson are able to do this, they could really cause a lot of problems for Purdue. The problem is Purdue shooting on the season over 40% from behind the arc. They shot 47% from behind the arc against a team like Utah State. Man, Fresh, Edie is going to get all of the love and all of the accolades because he's about ready to be a National Player of the Year for the second year in a row, something that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. It's the other guys. It's the guys who do shoot very well from behind the arc that are going to really help Purdue win this in this basketball game. I got Purdue winning. I think Gonzaga is going to kind of have their magical run ended here. But, good for them. They showed up when the expectations were lower. They were there.
I mean, they didn't win their conference this year. They lost to St. Mary's. St. Mary's is the top team. Well, St. Mary's is no longer in the tournament, and Gonzaga's still there. This game will be fun to watch.
Yeah. All right, Fresh. Let's go to Creighton and Tennessee. Creighton got here by beating Akron in the first round and beating Oregon in a 2-overtime game in the second round. Tennessee beat St. Peter's and Texas in the second round. Fresh, right now, time to record. Tennessee's only a 2.5 point favorite in this game. Dalton Knicht, kid can play. Kid can ball out. But Creighton's got a couple of kids that can play.
I think we got 7 legit dudes in this ball game. Dalton Knicht, Zakai Ziegler, Jonas Adu for Tennessee, Baylor Shireman, Trey Alexander, Ryan Kalkenbrenner, and Stephen Ashworth for Creighton. Those 7 guys, if they were one team, I think they win the NCAA tournament by themselves. Like I don't care about size. Those dudes right there would just run the court. 2 guys rotating and playing a bench. That's how much talent this team has along those 7 dudes on this court. It's going to be a fun experience to watch how they all play each other, how they're covering each other, and the flow of the game. All 7 of those guys average double digits, and Knicht and Shireman averaging over 20 in themselves. So they feed off each other. They thrive off each other. We're going to see kind of those games with like shot for shot where you look the other guy in the eye like, I nailed that. What are you going to do? One up me. Guy goes down the court, hits on a shot, and they just continue to keep going one for one. Trying to impress each other, not trying to outdo each other. It's style points as well as scoring on the scoreboard. Creighton scoring 80.6 a game, 32nd in the nation. The Blue Jays are averaging 10.7 made threes a game. That's 6th in the country. And they shoot 29.3 threes a game, 9th in the nation. They are literally just running down like you're playing in the YMCA gym or they're just jacking them up left and right. They don't drive to the paint. They are sitting outside the arc and just passing around the arc and shooting from the perimeter all night long. Creighton only averages 14.9 free throws a game. That means they're not going down low. They're not battling. They're not driving the lane out. There's no post presence whatsoever for Creighton. You're only shooting 14.9 free throws a game. There's no contact. It's just gutting down the court, jacking up a shot. If it's missed, they back off, let the rebound go, and they get back around and play defense. They're not really caring about crashing the boards. They're not driving down low. Very rarely are they taking contested drives toward the basket to draw contact, which actually might be problematic late in the ball game. If you're not hitting your threes, you've got to find ways to get points on the board. It means you might have to have someone attack the lane and get to the line. If you're not doing that, you're not scoring with the clock stopped. You're getting an empty possession. So how does Creighton sort of find ways to manufacture points with the clock not moving? That might be critical if you're Tennessee, or even down the line if they want to meet, if they're lucky enough to advance and move forward. And just in case you're wondering, that 14.9 free throws attempted a game, that's 348th in the nation. There are 350 teams in the country. They do not shoot free throws. Tennessee, averaging 79.1 points per game. It's middle of the pack, 51 in the nation, middle top 100 there. The Vols shoot 25.4 threes a game. That's 45th in the nation. And they're shooting 33.9% from beyond the arc. We are going to see a lot of shots from downtown. A lot of one-shot possessions, short shot clock possessions. Just get down there, jack it up. If it's not there, it's a rebound, move on, play defense. This game will move at a very frenetic pace. It will move very high energy. Boom, boom, boom. You will not fall asleep watching these two teams play basketball. But the real key, can Tennessee's defense get some stops? Can they challenge the Jays at the arc? Can they force them to drive? Can they get turnovers and force transition buckets? Tennessee, there's always just a mystique. They have a great basketball team, and put up high points on a football team. Their baseball team looks great. They never finish. Is this a team that can find ways to finish? Is this going to be the first Tennessee program outside of the women's teams that can finally finish? Creighton's going to give them a heck of a challenge. And if they cannot stop Creighton from shooting threes and finding those high percentage buckets, they're going to be exiting the tournament as quickly as they arrive. This game, I'm going to say right now, we are going to see 63-point shots with about 4 minutes to go, maybe even 70 total in the ballgame. They're going to be jacking up threes on both teams combined. Whichever team can find ways to make the majority, obviously, is obvious that they'll dictate the pace. But whoever can own and score from the free throw line and generate those possessions with the clock not moving and give them that little separation will win the ballgame. I think Tennessee is an exciting team. I think they're very good. But I picked Creighton to go to the Final Four a long time ago. I got to take the Blue Jays here and keep it going. If Creighton finds a way to survive Tennessee, and I think this might be one of the most exciting basketball games we've seen in the tournament in years.
So for me, Fresh, Dalton Connect is got to really take over this game here. And what you need to do is get the Creighton Blue Jays into foul trouble there. They really play a solid, only 6-man deep rotation. They log a lot of minutes. While you talked about how they don't initiate a lot of contact, Tennessee does. And by getting Creighton into foul trouble, making him go to the back end of the bench, this could be a huge problem long-term for the Blue Jays in this ball game here. I'm with you here. There's a lot of interesting guys in here, and I think that this is going to be an up-and-down game here. That's what you got to do. For Tennessee to win, I want them to push the pace. I want them to play fast but not hurry. I want them to go quick, move the ball. You get the ball, go. Move the basketball. Find your open shot. Take your shot that you want within your offense there as well. And again, really, I would put in a full court press on Creighton right off the bat. I would go man full court press and make you really work to get your baskets there early on. First 5 minutes, wear them down in there. Make them, because again, they're going to be looking to shoot the three more than they're going to be looking to drive to the lane there. It could come back and bite you, but if that's kind of how I would approach this game. I would, again, press them and roll with them there, Fresh. So that's what I got for that. Give me Tennessee in this game, Fresh. I think Tennessee's going to win. Who you got coming out of the Midwest?
I'm taking Creighton over Purdue. I just, let the Blue Jays fly.
Oh, so you're going Blue Jays into the Final Four.
I picked them in the Final Four, earlier on. I had Purdue. I was just stumbling early on, so I got to stick with Creighton. I'm not going to back down from that one. We're going to give me the Blue Jays to the Final Four.
I'm going Purdue, man. For some reason, I got to go Purdue because I feel like they're just a team of destiny on this one.
Well,
all right, Fresh.
You know what? Maybe I help Purdue there by picking against them. Maybe we help break that jinx and get the Boilermakers to the Final Four.
All right, Fresh. Well, we've gone a little bit long today here, but real quick here, you got UCONN versus UNC and Marquette versus Creighton. Who's your national title game?
UCONN and Creighton.
And who wins?
With the Huskies taking the title, going back to back.
I'm going to say UCONN. I got UCONN versus UNC. I think this UCONN team is really, really good. Sign me up, though, because I'm going to have Purdue going to the national title game, and it will live on for infamy. You lose to a 16 team, you win a national title the following year. I'm going to buy in and believe it. I'm going to beat myself up over it later, but I'm going with Purdue Boilermakers to win the national championship.
if Purdue wins a title, you have to buy a national championship T-shirt and a hat.
Maybe. We'll see when we get there. All right, folks, before you head out of here, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get notified every single time we drop a new episode here. We got a lot of stuff coming down. We're going to preview the national championship in the Final Four when we get there for it. And it's draft season coming up next. So once we're done with March Madness, it's time to talk NFL draft. You're not going to want to miss a single second of that. So hit the notification bell. Get notified every single time. Leave us that 5-star review because you guys know Fresh and I, we're those 5-star prospects. Interact with us on social media. Leave us a comment. Tell us all about ourselves as well. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. And make sure you're visiting SpinnableSports.com. Yep, that's SpinnableSports.com. Fresh, that's all I got. We've gone long today, but it's a good episode.
Hey, March Madness brings out fever. It brings out a lot of breakdowns, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. Folks, like Seth said, dive into us on Spinnable Sports YouTube, SpinnableSports.com. Spread the word. We want to interact with you guys. We need more. Keep the subscriptions coming. Keep the interactions coming. Until next time, talk to you later. Bye, y'all.